I don't think a lot of us are aware that as we become more and more global, we need to become more and more aware. We need to become more and more adaptable. And that's one of a number of different areas where your recommendation for us is we need to be more adaptable. And I know that the Gen Z, you have some pretty concrete perceptions in terms of how do we need to be more adaptable now across generations inside of our companies.
Absolutely. So Gen Z or the post-millennial generation grew up in a very different technological environment than their supervisors or their managers in most situations. Much more digitally or technologically savvy, and their leadership style or their drive is really centered around a purpose. What are their objectives? What are they trying to achieve? So that's their drive. And so, how does this translate in the hiring process, the onboarding process, the career planning, and leadership development process? So, what we found is that with Gen Z, it's really critical to have a clear onboarding structure. Your 30, 60, 90, or even your 180, clarity of goals. A lot of them come out of colleges that may or may not have work experience because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation. And so if they come to a work environment and the trend now is 9 to 5, 5 days a week in person. So what are they actually going to do? So you need to have clarity so that they see the purpose of their role. So having structure, having clear outlines, having deliverables, having that engagement is very important. So one of the things that my team looks at is span of control. So you want to make sure that the supervisor and employee ratio is at a manageable number. Or is it 5 people, depending on the nature of the operations, if you're in a finance organization? Or is it 15 people if it's a shop floor environment? Are the people in one location? Are they spread out? What's the use of technology? You want to understand span of control, because if the expectation is your manager needs to spend 15 minutes on a check-in conversation, how you're doing, what's going on, what are the issues that you're dealing with, beyond the blocking and tackling conversations, you need to create time, you need to create bandwidth in the supervision for that to actually happen. So we want to make sure that the supervisors are equipped to do this. We have to train the supervisors and managers on the importance of those conversations and how to have those conversations. I think the other element is that typically career planning conversations take place after you've been in the role for 5 years. You came in, you joined a company, you worked for a few years, you moved to another department, or you got a promotion, you've been enrolled, you've been in the company for 5 years. What does Joe, what does Sally want to do? Has anybody had a career conversation with them? I think Gen Z, you need to have conversation every year. So every 12 months, as part of the year-end review process, you need to have a career conversation. Because you got to keep in mind, they're driven by a purpose. So they've got a clear goal, where they want to be, what their compensation should look like. Now, if a company, and every company is trying to grow, with growth comes opportunities. So how are you channeling those opportunities and leveraging them with your Gen Z population? So that requires a very hands-on leadership engagement with that population.